Anybody have any purpose citations to hand out? John has one. Anyone else? John, go ahead.
I already gave it to Johnny G. The other day he had a customer call him. He was on his way to the branch and he ran out of gas. So John asked me where the gas can was and he went down and he rescued him. So he definitely went beyond the call.
Nice job. Anyone else? All right, I have two. One is to Shelley. This has been a rough couple of weeks for me because we've got a lot going on, so it's a good thing, but a lot on my plate, and I decided to cascade a lot of the stuff down to Shelley, writing SOPs and handling a lot of tasks, and she's done an incredible job with that. So. My other one comes with a story. I know you guys are shocked that I was wonderful. But first we have to welcome a new guest of ours, Brendan, who just started with us. Brendan came from class. How long were you at class for? 14 years. 14 years at class. And so I'm going to tell you what this says, and then I'll tell you the story behind it. So this is to Brendan. It says, thanks for sharing your story. It has motivated me to try to stay more positive. And so now the story. So Brendan and I interviewed, right? And, by show of hands, and I'll lead by raising my hand first. How many of us complain about how busy we are and we're slammed and we can't get our work done? Show of hands, who does that, right? So it's been a habit for me, and I'm interviewing with Brandon, who's been 14 years at class, and he shows up one day and the doors are shut and basically said the bank is seized the business. And I asked him what it was like his last 3, 4, 6 months there. He said it was pretty stressful, not knowing when that was going to happen. It wasn't a total shock to him, but every day less product would come in, less product would go out, vendors would call, looking for accounts payable department. Things were happening. And so it was just a reflection to me, and I wanted to share with everybody that I think it's okay to complain that we're busy, but let's look at the other side. And so to me, it was an eye-opener, and it really motivated me to say, you know what, when I complain about it, I'm going to know it's complaining in a good way and not a bad way. So again, I want to thank and welcome Brendan. So Rainey and I teamed together this week. We wanted to go over situations that Lou might try to throw his way, and I told him there's no way we're going to be able to come up with everything that Lou might throw his way. Because we all know Lou, he wants to be a wise ass and think he's funny and everything else. So. But what we came up with is there's 2 foundations that you really need to do when you're working on buy-in versus begging. Stay positive. Think about this. It's your job. You call the meeting. They're uncomfortable already, right? They know that you're calling them in for something, and they're already uncomfortable. So stay positive. They're going to be defensive by nature. And then use A and B. Articulate reality, move it forward, and build confidence. And I wanted to break that down a little bit, and then we're going to show the A and B card today. So articulate reality. It keeps it fact-based. It keeps emotions in check. Moving it forward, it keeps you from the rabbit holes that you might go down if you didn't try to move it forward. And building confidence, sustained movement forward. So A and B is a tool for those of you who aren't aware, and I'm going to have Susan send these out to branch leaders, and you can ask your branch leader by middle of next week for a copy of this if you want it. I know Max, I know myself, I know there's a lot of people that keep them right up by their desks. This helps me out a lot. And so basically, can you show this already? Basically, the front of the card says A and B, articulate reality, moving forward, and build confidence. And the back of the card gives situations. So here's the situations. These are some examples of when you can use A and B. If somebody or you have an idea, a customer got angry, a customer was delighted, you made a mistake, or someone else made a mistake. Those are just some examples. How do you move it forward? Well, how can we fix it? How do we celebrate it? How do we move it forward? How do we satisfy the customer? How do we make sure it doesn't happen in the future? How do we implement it? How do we get a quick win? And how do we make sure we do more often? And how do we build confidence? Practice in advance, plan this first step, figure out what you may need to be successful, and how can you set up for success for the first time. So this is a tool that was launched about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, and it's amazing how much every day you can use this in everything, right? So before AMD, and I don't use it 100%, I'd like to think that I'm at 80% at this point. Before AMD, I went to those rabbit holes. So let's say I brought somebody in, try to relate to this. You try to bring somebody in for something that you have to tell them that they're doing incorrectly, or tell a good story, right? How many times does it go from the focus of what you want to talk about to something totally different about maybe another employee that's doing things wrong? Totally doesn't go into what your goal was or what you wanted to talk about, and you end up spending more time talking about something that's not relevant than is relevant. Does that ever happen to anybody besides me? A little bit, yeah. So A and B keeps it in check. Let you bring it back to the facts. All right, wait a minute. This is what we're here for. This is what we're going to do. And the reason this is important with buy-in versus begging is when Rainey and I sat down, we kept going back to this card and saying, if we just follow these rules, and it's not that easy to do when somebody's trying to throw you off from your A-B conversation to an X-Y-Z, you stay focused on this. So A and B, very powerful. I'm going to have Susan get these out next week to your branches. If you don't have one, I highly suggest you hang it up as a reminder somewhere where you can see it and you can use that tool. Anybody off site that doesn't have one, just send me an email and we'll get one mailed out to you. Just put your address and everything on it. So the other thing we came up with for today to help the situation was, how are we going to get through this? So we used the AMD card, and I just want to give some pointers what Rainey's going to focus on today to really try to help him with Louis, who's going to be a disgruntled employee, and try to fight this and be like, you know what, this warehouse management system stinks. I don't know why we need it. We've been successful for 20, 50 years without it. I don't know why we need it, right? So to get acknowledgement that you both agree that it's a good thing, to keep the customer focused, less is more. We have this written twice because it's really important. Less is more. Stay to the positive. Stay away from the rabbit holes. Bring it back to the original. The billboard method, less is more, and A and B. So those are all little cheat sheets that Rainey has that he's going to try to reset himself and bring himself back to. The reason I say less is more is think about an email that you get from a teammate or a customer, and we went through this. That's a long paragraph, right? And you try to read it versus bullet points. And we proved that the bullet points except for Louis, right? Right, Lou? You bought that on them? You did really good on that. Well, I gave you the bullet, you kicked it. So anyway, it's so much easier to read. And the same thing in communication, which is one of our behaviors, we communicate purposefully. It's so much easier to understand when somebody's giving you bullet points instead of this long, drawn-out story. So we're going to try really hard to do this today, and then we're going to kick it over to some conversation and see what we got. So I'm going to turn it over to Rainey and Lou. You guys want to come up there? So again, the scenario is Rainey's a supervisor, project manager. He's implementing warehouse management system. Lou's a counter guy, been here over 10 years. He's fighting it. He doesn't understand why we have to do this. He's not using the system, and it's slowing Rainey's project down. Something that should have been completed maybe isn't completed. It's a total hypothetical. It's obviously never going to happen here at Vendors. And just go with it as a hypothetical. Go ahead, Lou.
Lou, thanks for meeting with me. I know we're all busy. I want to talk about the progress of warehouse management. Did you ever know what our inventory accuracy was before we went to WMS?
No.
We're about 75%. Do you know what we're currently at?
No, I don't.
We're at 85%. Do you know what our ultimate goal and what we know we can get to?
No.
We can get to 99% inventory accuracy. Now let me ask you this. If we were at 99% accuracy, how much easier would your job be?
A lot easier.
How much happier would a customer be if they called in asking for a product? You looked it up and you saw we had it and you knew it was there.
Would be happy to get in and out to find material right away.
Right, so would you say that would be awesome for us?
Yeah.
Awesome for everyone?
Yeah.
So currently, how often do you say you're using the scan guns?
30%.
30%.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason you're at 30%?
Yeah, I think the guns slow me down, slowing down the customer that's at the counter, pulling the orders. I think I'm a lot faster without the gun.
Right. That could be hurting us from reaching our goal, and I'm really excited to get to that goal. It's going to make everything so much easier. When you're slowed down at the counter during this, do you think you can give me a call and we can work through it to try to get that customer out really quick and make it happy?
I mean, I'll try to, if you're around.
If I'm not around, let's come up with a scenario. If I can't make it there, you want to just, make a note of that sales order and hand it off to me. If we have to do bin counts, I'll take care of that. But I want to get you up to 80% by next week. Can you do that?
I could probably do 50.
50, huh? Let's shoot for 80. Trust me, this will be really great for all of us. If you need help, call me. I'm always here. I'm here about 98% of the time we're open. Call me. I'm there for you. I think you can do it.
Right. I mean, I'll shoot for 80, but I need other guys at the counter, other teammates. Like, I know Jason doesn't use his scan guns. I need other guys to get on board with me because I'm not going to be the only one that's going to be using the scan guns out there.
Yeah. Do you think if everyone saw you using the scan guns, they would pick up on this as well? Lead the pack. I know a lot of guys look up to you.
I think I could lead out there.
You think you lead out there?
Yeah.
Great. That's why I want to get you up to. Ultimately, I want to get you up to 100%. But let's shoot for 80%. Can you agree to meet with me next Wednesday, and we'll review this? Keep track of any struggles you have that you don't call me up for, and I'll see how close you get to 80%.
Yeah, as long as you agree to come up to the counter and call you.
I'm there for you. This is what I'm here for.
I could do that.
All right, great, Luke. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Look, going into this, what was your plan?
I wanted to bash.
What did he do that didn't allow that?
He kept bringing me back to the beginning where I already bought in saying that this would be better for us. This thing would be better. So at that point, I can argue till I'm blue in the face. As long as I already bought in the beginning and I know it's a better way here for vendors, then
What would it look like if you said, you know what, no, I don't agree that 99% inventory is good for us? What if you went down that road?
he should call you in and let me go.
So to Lou's point, is there any argument that 99% inventory accuracy is bad for our company? From a customer standpoint, from a an employee standpoint, is there any argument to that? There's none, right? And so, did anybody ever think about, let's look at what happens when a branch is short on something, a big item, say a boiler, right? What are the steps? All right, so the step is we look for that. We look for that from a warehouse level, and then we get maybe a specialist involved, like an inside salesperson, so they go out there and they look for it, and they can't find it. And then we get the branch manager to go out there, and they can't find it. So then we get receiving involved, and we see who's a receiving area. And then we call the other branches, and the same scenario goes through the warehouse person, then the specialist, then the branch manager. And then so every branch is doing that. How many dollars do you think that adds up to?
A lot.
All along, who's waiting for this boiler?
Customer.
Customer. How long is it taking us to tell the customer, we can't find this? 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours?
How many inventory checks go out a day and emails? It's ridiculous.
Pretty amazing, right? So I want to open this up. Does anybody think of anything different, or anybody want to acknowledge or talk about what Rainey did or could have done differently, or?
I think when Rainey said, Lou was complaining that, yeah, I'm going to do it, but no one else is going to do it. And then he made the point to say, if you were doing it, what would that look like for them? You know, so that was a key point, I think, that had to be brought up. I was actually waiting for you to say something like that. What's it going to look like for everyone there if they see you doing it? Now they're going to feel drawn in and, you know, leading by example really is all it was. But I think you weren't given much of an opportunity to really bash you either, because you kept on bringing it back to facts, which was a good thing. So like I want you to be at 80%. Our inventory can be 99, it's only 75 right now. Those are all facts, you know, so nothing was based on emotion or anything like that. It was just true fact. So I think that was good.
So Lou, how did you feel when Rainey said to you, well, I think if you start to do it, other people will start to do it organically, and I see you as a leader? What was your option there to say, well, I'm really not a leader. That's on me. I can't do that, right? I mean, that's your option, right?
Yeah.
But how did it make you feel when he elevated you to say, I see you as a leader?
It makes you feel good. It makes, somebody sees how hard you are actually working here and you want to grow here. If you want to just say, no, I just want to be a regular counter guy, I just want to do my job and go home, but
It's amazing how many times a day we can use this buy-in versus begging and be more successful. It's really hard. It's easier to do it when you're prepared and ready and you know you're going to do it. When somebody comes in your office or up to your desk, or you hit it last minute, or you see somebody standing in a truck moving that they shouldn't be doing, it's so much easier to just yell at them to show and have sustainability. Anybody else? Any comments? Yeah, Josh.
So, watching this go through, watching Lou's response and body language, I'm not convinced that at the end of that meeting he actually bought into what Rainey was really trying to show him. So if I was in a supervisor role, I would probably take note on some of the things that Lou said, and also that conversation to take into the follow-up conversation the week later.
Good point. So that Wednesday, right, that Rainey talked about, we're going to see if we're at 80%. If we're at 80%, great. If we're at 75, maybe we talk about, well, we didn't hit our goal, but we did well. If we're still at 30, 35%, then to your point, the body language was correct and we didn't get the buy-in, and we gotta redevelop this plan. So good point. Read body language, right? It's really important. Understand it. Anyone else?
There was one thing when you asked him, when you told him he was at 30%, and if he could get to 80. So from the manager's side of the situation, and he came back almost like negotiating, like I could do 50. You stuck to your guns, but you kept it without any emotion. It was like, it was done really well when you kept to that, when you stuck to that. I almost thought, for 1 second, you were gonna be like, all right, go 65 or something like that. But you stuck with it. You stuck with 80%.
If we were switched, I would have took 50 all day long.
He didn't give in. So as a supervisor, he didn't give in. He's still striving for that 80%. And maybe he's not gonna meet it, but who knows what his goal is. He's gonna hold him accountable. So, anybody else? Anybody have anything does anybody have anything that they see that they've used this in and changed a little bit from their old format in a day-to-day? Any stories that they've used over the last couple of weeks, buying versus begging?
Not to take over the whole meeting, but I just did this morning with the constant contact thing. I got the team to buy in on it. Explain to them what we were trying to do, why we need to do it, and kind of what happens if a customer says, I already have an email, I don't need to go through this, and how to kind of counter that. And I mean, just this morning, Wayne told me he called up 3 customers and signed them up on it. So, I mean,
That's good.
that was a buy-in.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think you could use this externally too. Really, I mean, it doesn't have to be internal. You can get your customers to buy in, instead of begging. I think of a good example is like when we're trying to get people to training. you know, a lot of times we spend begging them, hey, come on, we need you here, we need you here, we need you here, you gotta get here, you gotta get here, you know, 10 times.
Make me look good.
And then 5 minutes before the meeting, they say, I'm sorry. So I think that's begging, but getting them to realize, hey, what's it gonna look like for you after this training? You know, so you can get them to buy in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You brought up a good point yesterday, when you were saying that I wasn't 100% on board with stuff regarding using this at home with my kids and how to help them buy in to things that I'm trying to get accomplished at home with them. And I was thinking about it last night, and I used it with my older son who was having a weight issue, and how he's pushing back on going to the gym and eating right and things like that, and how I set some examples for him and asked him that, you know, next week let's try by Friday to at least, you know, hit the gym 3 times during the week and eating certain things, and trying to slowly bring him on board to buying in what needs to happen to help him get where he needs to be, so he stops getting picked on in school for his weight and things like that. So, you know, we kind of put a little bit of a plan together, and I think it kind of works with them. We'll see what happens next week by Friday.
Certainly more sustainable than the back end. I may need your help coaching you at home.
I also think setting expectations helps with buy-in, because it
Yeah.
gets the person involved. It's not just, all right, if I didn't set any expectations for 80% by next Wednesday, it's just, well, we'll just stay the course and see what he has to say on next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's the accountability, the metric. That's a huge, that's an important part, the follow-up, make sure keep involved. So, anything else? Anybody else?
One last thing on that, just to follow up what you just said, I think that was important what you did too, was setting the task for the next week. You know, so you're responsible for something, you know it's gonna be Wednesday. You know, so that is a task, you know, so that's something that has to be completed. I couldn't imagine if you came back next Wednesday and you were still at 30%, that would be no good, you know? So I think you would actually have tried to get to that number. I would at least.
So, Mike, I recently sent you an email about helping out with a project that we're going to be launching, and I used through email, I used the buy-in method, and I know how capable you are of doing it. And versus my old school way of sending an email and saying, hey, I need this done. But in this email, explain to you why we're doing this, the success rate we've already had with what we've done. Can you talk a little bit about the motivational difference between the old way and the new way?
Oh yeah, definitely a way better way to do it is the buy-in method. I would agree to do it regardless, but it's way easier to agree to it the way you stated it in your email and the phone call.
So let me ask you a question. You said you would have done it either way. Which way do you think you'll do a better job? And which way do you think you'll put more effort into it?
The buy-in way that you approached me with. Definitely.
So we get a better outcome, right? We get more people involved.
Yeah.
They make you feel important because they are important. Anybody come up with a downside of buy-in? Mike, you were going to say something?
I don't really see a downside to it. It's a great way to approach things.
I think it all ties into like noble purpose of like knowing why you're doing something, why your job's important. It makes it easier, better. You're more fulfilled of, rather than someone begging you to do something, you know why they're begging you.
Yeah. It all ties together at some point, right? So why don't we try to, we'll start next week and I'll have a plan because I know it won't take up the whole session. Why don't we try to come up with stories how we're using this over this week? At home, here, and just reset yourself to what you would have done, or maybe you've always used this method, but getting the buy-in, and let's talk about some stories. If two people can bring some stories next week to start us off, and it takes the whole session, it does, great. It'd be great if we can get some real stories about, let's be self-aware and all try to use this buy-in method, and let's come back with some stories, okay? Does that sound good, everybody?
Yeah.
So Max, is gonna close this out. Anybody want to close this out? Come on. Susie, you want to close this out?
Oh my God, no.
Christina, you want to close this out?
I think Lou should.
Who did enough today?
This sounds like begging, not buying.
Yeah, I'll close it out. Sure.
Thank you.
So I want to say how much it means to me to be a part of this. It's so great to hear everyone's stories and not feel so alone in some of this. It's hard every day, and being able to talk to you guys and hear your stories and hear your struggles just makes it so much better every day. So thank you guys for putting yourselves out on a limb and sharing your stories.
Awesome. Everyone have a great week.
Yeah, everyone have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.